5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was probably almost $70,000 in debt. My wife and I just had our second child and working full-time in law enforcement. And we had a moment where we sat down and said, I don't know if this is everything that there is. Like, we're both working full-time, we have a family, and we're broke.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, I am so excited to have y'all again to check out another episode here. Hey, this channel, we talk about private money lending, we talk about real estate investing, but today I have an amazing guest, Mr. Pat Poechman. What's going on, Patty? How you doing?
What's up, bro? How are you?
Doing good, man. Hey, making things happen. You're overcoming here a few challenges. We had some issues with the background, and we're just making it happen. But thanks, Matt, for being here today and willing to share your journey and willing to share about your private money lending journey. And just super excited, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Anytime I get a chance to share and contribute and just pour back into our community and beyond, I'm game, man. I love it.
I love it, man. Hey, Matt. So, I always like to start off with walking people through their journey, right, of real estate investing, whether it was, hey, I saw this vision that I was going to be like a multimillionaire in real estate because Robert Kiyosaki, I read the book and it just blew my mind,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always interested to know, at what point did your journey pivot into real estate investing? If we want, we could start there and just slowly turn the wheel into where you're at now. So if we want to start there, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me start 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was probably almost $70,000 in debt. My wife and I just had our second child and working full-time in law enforcement. And we had a moment where we sat down and said, I don't know if this is everything that there is. Like, we're both working full-time, we have a family, and we're broke. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, where you're busting your butt, you're doing what you're told to do, go to school, go to, post-secondary, get a good job, find something with a pension, something stable, make good money, have a family, and then retire. And that's kind of like, I don't know, I guess that's what everyone gets taught in school. And that's like the life plan of what our parents did. And I was not okay with that. And so about 5 years ago, my wife and I sat down and I said, I'm going to start learning how to take control of our financial future so that in 10 years from now, we actually have wealth. And that started the journey. And she said, well, I don't know what you're going to do. And I said, well, I'm going to get into real estate. She goes, well, but I don't want to hear anything about it because that sounds really risky. And I said, okay, I'm going to start by, I have no knowledge. I've never done real estate. I've seen things and I've heard people talk at work, but let me get educated. Let me get a mentor. That was my first thought, is like, let me hire someone to guide me. It was the best decision I ever made. And I've been hiring mentors ever since. And anyone who's ever hired a really good mentor or coach knows the value of, exponentially increasing the speed of the learning, right? And avoiding all the pitfalls that they would have made had they done it on their own. So got a mentor within the first 6 months, bought a duplex and did the BRRRR strategy on that: buy, renovate, rent, repeat, refinance, repeat. And then it was successful. And but then I ran out of money. So I had to find some lenders. But I'd never raised capital before. So really kind of felt not trapped, more like lost. I just felt like, okay, I was going to get into real estate. It was like all the things I had hoped it to be. And then I got this first property and it was a lot of work and I executed it, but I have no money. And now I got to raise capital. Like, that seems really scary. It seems impossible. Who's going to lend me money? So I sat on that duplex for 3.5 years. And then it wasn't until I took a mindset course, hired a mindset mentor, changed my mindset, And that's when it really took off for me. And then that was in late 2023, so not too long ago. And within the last 24 months, we bought 12 properties. Yeah. So yeah, we bought just under
Wow.
$10 million in assets in about 18 months. Retired from law enforcement. I retired from my 17-year career, completely changed my life. My wife retired. Multiple businesses. We have the real estate business, and then we also have a successful coaching business where we help other people change their lives, change their mindset, and get into creative real estate investing as well. And that's what I do now. So that takes us up to today. So that's kind of been my real estate journey. It's all been 100% creative financing. I've never used, aside from my very first deal, I used retirement funds, like locked in secured funds for that. First time home buyer program, I used those. It was 5% down. I used the,
Right.
here in Canada, because I'm a Canadian, we have RSP similar to a 401k. And I use those funds, which I don't have to pay back, over time for many years. So other than that, every other deal has been creative finance, seller finance, subject to lease option. Oh my gosh, you name it, I've done it. Hybrid options, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So and again, I'm not a seasoned investor. I still think that I'm in my infancy. I'm only 5 years in, but really only taking action aggressively for the last 2 years. So
Jeez, that's so powerful, man. You know how in 5 years things have changed so drastically for you, and that's pretty amazing, man. That it's that it's possible and it's reachable, right? I wanted to take you back to when you mentioned you told your wife, "Hey, we're going to go into real estate." She said, "Hey, I don't want anything to do." Right? You mentioned risk involved. So take me back, right? Because it takes some like mindset or courage. You say you found a mentor, right? That said, "Hey, you're gonna, maybe they taught you the numbers, right? How to underwrite a duplex." But making that step, taking that sleep, and taking that step, right, and that leap into, "Hey, this is gonna work," right, and not just sitting there in fear is so powerful. What was that? Was it just like the numbers that made sense to you, or was it like the coach telling you, "Hey, you got this"? What made you make that decision?
Great question. It was none of the above.
Mm,
All great guesses. The thing that made me leap in the beginning, because as well as I do, your first deal is the most terrifying because
mm,
you've never done it before. So it's like, oh my God, you can hear your parents in the back of your mind, like, this is a mistake, the market's going to crash, you're going to lose it all, right? So the first deal, it comes with an immense amount of fear, almost like terrifying. For most people, they don't overcome that, and they never invest at all. And I'm sure you see that in our communities. I know a lot of people who are in the investing community and never done their first deal.
mhm,
Overcoming fear is what we teach people to do now. But back then, the biggest motivator for me was not the numbers, was not the education, it wasn't my coach, it wasn't even my belief in myself. What it was the burning desire inside of me to not be completely broke when I was 40 years old.
mm,
I'm 40 now, and we have a $10 million real estate portfolio. But 5 years ago, I had zero net worth. I had zero assets. So it was this crippling fear of being 40 years old and being flat broke, but working 60 hours a week and just killing my body on shift work for what?
mm.
So it was looking ahead and going, oh my God, if I don't change something now, if I don't take a risk now, I am going to be living in deep regret when I'm 40. That's what made me pull the trigger on the first one.
Jeez, man, that's so powerful right there. I've heard that said before, right? When you envision yourself of the potential good outcome and the bad outcome, and when you look at that bad outcome, yeah, that will get you going.
Should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
Man.
hard though, man. I mean, like most people, you see this just in today's society in general. Most people choose the comfort of what they know
Mm,
versus the fear of the unknown. So they'll look at their life in 5, 10 years from now and say, okay, I may not be a multimillionaire. I may not have financial freedom. I may not have time freedom. I may not have all the things that I want, but at least I'm safe. And that's where most people stay. I would say 99% of the people in the world stay in that comfort zone where things are safe, right?
mm,
And they never venture out past their comfort zone into the unknown because it's too risky, right? And that's really where growth happens. That's where you test what you're made of. You test, you know, your own capability, your own potential, which I've learned is infinite once you realize it and once you get rid of all the mental limitations that we all put on ourselves by the limiting beliefs that we have believed our entire lives. Once you overcome that, there's no limit. There's really no limit. Just for example, like I have a $10 million portfolio. Right now, we're looking at $30 million right now. So overnight, I would quadruple my portfolio in about 2 months. Once these deals close, I go from 10 to 40. So when you think about like limitations, it's not like the way most people think of it is like you go from 10 and then maybe you buy another one, you get it to 12 million and then you go to 15 million and then you scale up from there. And I'm like, I'm going to go to 40 and then by next year I'm going to be at 100. And then we're just going to keep creeping our way up to in 3 years I want to be at 1 billion. Right? Because I
Jeez, that is
understand there's no
powerful.
limit.
Yeah.
There's no limits, dude. It's just the ones that we put on ourselves. If you believe you can't, then you can't. I believe that I can do anything. And so
Yeah.
when I get a deal for 100 million, I'm putting an offer on it. Simple as
Mm.
that.
So, that takes me back to earlier you mentioned as well, right? When it came to that, after that first deal you completed, you were like raising capital. Oh my God, and majority of my audience here we talk about private money lending and raising capital and how to properly, structure deals where we want to make sure that our investors are secure, right? But just having that mindset of being able to have that type of conversation, right?
Mhm.
What was it like after you realized, hey, I need to bring other people's money into some of my deals? How did you structure that first deal? If you could share with us, was it like just a handshake type of deal, or was it just like, hey, we're going to be partners in this? Tell us a little bit about your first private money lending or your first raise capital.
My first raise, well, this is a really interesting one. It's gonna bleed right into the mindset conversation. So I apologize for that. It's going to constantly be a theme here, but I had just finished. Well, hadn't even finished. I was in the middle of taking my first set personal development program with my mentor. And keep in mind, I had never raised a dime in capital. So I call him up and I said, dude, like, here's the challenge. I want to give it context first. The night that I met him, he looked at me and I was like, teach me how. I need to know how you do what you do. Teach me all these things. Like, show me, please. Show me how. I'm in debt. I need to get out of it. Right. And he's like, you're an investor, right? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I got a duplex. And he's like, hey, so go buy 5 deals in 2 months. And I laughed in his face. I was like, bro, that's not possible. I'm broke.
Mm,
I don't know where to find 5 deals. I've never raised capital. I don't know where to find them. And I literally just started listing all the reasons why I couldn't, which I later
mm,
learned to find out that those are all just limiting beliefs, that none of them are real. And he goes, you're absolutely right. You won't do it, not because you can't, but because you don't believe that you can. And I was like, I don't know if that's true, dude. Like, whether I believe it or not, that's not going to make the money hit my bank account. You know what I mean? So, but I was, like I said before, my motivation was super high because I was refused to be 40 years old and broke.
mm,
So I said, dude, I'm in. I'm committed. I said, whatever I got to pay you to teach me how to do what you do, I'm in. Just tell me what to do. And he's like, okay, cool. So I'm about 2 months into this program and I call him up and I'm like, all right, I took action. I overcame my fear. I'm changing my limiting beliefs. I went and put 3 properties under contract at the same time. 3. About $1 million in real estate, 12 units total. I had no money. So I said, how the heck do I raise capital? And he goes, here's the first thing you do. Step one, go out in the backyard, you raise your arms up to the universe, and you say, I'm so happy and grateful for all the money I have now to fund these deals. I'm like, that's pretty easy. Okay, cool. But he's like, but you have to say it like you already have the money. Like you're really grateful as if you already have it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm literally 2 feet. I was 2 feet from where I'm sitting right now. I'm on my back deck right now. And I raise my arms up to the universe. I look up at the sky and I'm like, I'm so happy and thankful now for all the money that has come to me for these deals. I'm like, okay, cool. Did that. What's next? And he's like, forget about yourself and go help someone else. And I'm like, that's not how it works, dude. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, me just going to help people is just gonna like money just gonna fall from the sky. Like that doesn't happen, dude. And he's like, shut up and go do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. I got nothing to lose. So I was like, I'm super driven. So like if you give me a task, I'm gonna crush it. So he's like, go help someone. I'm like, cool. I did 600 Zoom calls in 8 months of purely giving. So like if you're a newbie and you've never done a deal, I'll help you learn underwriting. If you never closed your first deal, I'll help you with the paperwork. Like I just gave and gave and gave 600 hours of my time. The result of that is I learned something that we now teach. It's called the law of receiving. Have you ever heard of this? The law of receiving. So it's a universal law. And this law states, it's much like the law of gravity. There are universal laws that exist. The law of receiving states that before you can receive abundance from the universe, you first must give without expectation of return. So it can't be transactional. So I couldn't just go and help people, 600 of them, expecting capital back. What I had to be is having a heart of service and say, I want to help you because I really want to see you win. I want to see you provide for your family. I want to see you have, success, which I did. I truly did. So what ended up happening is I'm giving, and I'm working now with the law of receiving. I'm open to receiving abundance because I'm giving, and abundance starts coming to me. So here's my 18-minute story. I'm sitting on my couch one night. Now keep in mind, I had told this guy on the deck, I'm like, that doesn't work, dude. Like money doesn't fall from the sky. So that's what I told him. So sitting on my couch, and I get a text from agent that I had been, nurturing a really good relationship with. And he goes, I got a 7 unit coming back on market. It was under contract. The couple couldn't raise capital, but it makes a lot of money. Would you want to buy it? And I go, heck yeah. Is it a good deal? He goes, yeah, it makes really good money. Sends it to me. I underwrite it in about 8 minutes. Now, for anyone new, if you're not strong on underwriting, start underwriting every single day. That's my number one tip. Underwrite every single day, because you'll never get to a point where you can underwrite a $7+ million deal in 8 minutes if you don't learn underwriting. So I had done years of underwriting deals every day because I'm driven. So I had that ability. So I underwrite this deal in 8 minutes. I'm like, holy crap, $2,000 a month cash flow on exit after refi. Like, okay, yeah, I'll buy this. Sends me the contract. I'm signing the offer. As I'm signing the offer, I get another text message, and it's from a guy who's going through a divorce. It's a guy I had a phone call with who I was helping him with underwriting. And then I met up with him for coffee. And then I think I bought him lunch one day because he was really down on his luck, and he was working in my city and he's working in the area. So I went and bought him lunch. Anyway, most of what I gave this guy was not help with underwriting. Most of what I gave him was just friendship, just man to man, a guy going through a hard time. And I was just there to support him and give him, support. He texts me and he goes, dude, you were so helpful and kind. I appreciate you so much. I see that you're, buying real estate and all this. I've got some money. I'd love to lend. I've got 200 grand.
Wow.
And I'm like, you kidding me?
Wow.
So here I am. Listen to this. I'm sitting on my couch. I didn't work hard. I didn't grind, hustle. I didn't have to go to any conferences. I was in line with the laws of the universe, the law of receiving. And all I did was receive. Through all the giving I had done, I was ready to receive. And within 18 minutes, I had the deal. The universe landed the deal in my lap. I didn't have to look for it. and it landed the exact dollar amount that I needed to close it. Money fell from. I was eating my words, bro. So I tell people this story because I am not a typical capital raiser, because I employ the laws of the universe and mindset techniques in order to utilize the law of attraction and frequency to attract people and opportunity. And that's how I raise capital. For most real estate investors, that is outside of their wheelhouse and outside of the realm of what they believe is real, and they can't harness it. I've raised $5 million in 2 years in private money, and I've never asked anyone for money. I've attracted it. So does it work? Heck yeah, it works. That was the first time I raised capital, and it landed in my lap in a text message in 18 minutes.
Wow, that is mind blowing, my friend. You know, just I'm still trying to sink in, you know, what you're saying, you know, because every, you know, as most of us, you know, that we've talked about has mostly been, and you know, how do you structure, how do you properly, you know, ensure that your investor that's coming in with the capital, right? But building that relationship long term, definitely goes a long way for people wanting to invest with you as a person, right? Not just the here's my money, put it to work. Yeah, it's great, but once you build those relationships, it just, to your point, right? Just money falls from the sky.
It does. It actually does. I agree. I can't explain it any other way other than that it does actually fall from the sky, and that's a real thing. When you understand these principles, most people don't. That's why it's actually, I feel like it's an unfair advantage. But I live my life this way. It's not just that this is how I raise capital. This is how I live my life all the time. So I don't look for deals. Deals come to me. I don't look for money. I help other people, and the money finds me. And this is just a way of life. It's not like most people will like take a program and then they'll do certain things. This changed my entire existence. This is a way of life. I didn't take a course and then like do some of the things. Does that make sense? I didn't just like do a couple of the things that I learned and added them to my tool belt. I completely transformed my whole life. And now this is how I live. So for anyone listening, if they're like, oh, I'm going to go put my arms out to the universe and just have money fall from the I encourage you to do it, but there's a certain way that you need to do it. And there's a lot of other elements that you have to fix within the self and within the power of your own mind that need to be aligned in order to manifest abundance and attract abundance in your life. Again, it's a way of life. It's not a course. It's not like a program. It's not like certain things you learn on YouTube or a podcast. It's a way of life. So yeah, that's how I raise capital. It's extremely conventional. And I actually teach my clients in the real estate space, because I do one-on-one mentoring for real estate as well now, how to use that as well.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned earlier about all the beliefs that we have, right? Growing up, and all these things that people put in our heads, right? And make us believe that is the truth. You know, one of the big sayings out there is like, hey, money doesn't grow on trees, right?
I love that one.
You know, so it's interesting, right? How you're able to build relationships by being a giver, right? And being able to bring value to their business, or being just a friend, like the example you just provided. And in return, right, the universe does make that money grow on trees, or does make it fall from the sky. So, you know, that's so powerful. And you know, if for any new investors that want to get into real estate investing, I think one thing, right, that I want to highlight here is, yes, it's important to join these mentorships, right, and find these gurus that show you the ins and outs numbers, because they'll show you like the underwriting, right, and how to structure creative deals. But one thing that you need to get early is that mindset, right? The power of being a giver, and finding how to ask questions to find ways you can give value, right, to others. That is so powerful there, Matt.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Mindset. Here's a line for your listeners. If you're listening to this and you don't study mindset, or you haven't done anything in the mindset space at all, like I hadn't 2 years ago, mindset, write this down. mindset is 95% of success, or success is 95% mindset. That's it. And the other 5% is knowledge and skill. The problem with most people is because they've not been taught that everything comes through the mindset, everything comes through the power of your own mind, through the power of your own thought. They focus on just gaining more knowledge, right? And we see this all the time. People will just take more courses and more mentorships and more masterminds, and they have no real estate. They have no financial freedom. They have no abundance because they're focused and stuck on, I just need to get more knowledge. I just need to know how. But there's a huge gap between, we all know how to become wealthy, Edgar. You buy assets that pay you in your sleep, and you buy enough of them that you have time freedom. It's very simple. Everyone knows the how, and yet the doing part is where there's a gap between the knowing and the doing. We call it the knowing doing gap. What's the gap there? It's mindset. It's very simple.
Yeah.
The only difference between me and someone who's never started mindset is if we get both presented a $10 million offer today, that person who's never, ever put any time, intention, or effort into becoming the best version of themselves will look at that $10 million deal and go, that's too big. I've never bought a deal that big. I would not even know where to start. And what if I fail? It'll be financial ruin. And I've never raised that amount of capital. So how could I ever? And who am I to think I could take down a deal that big? And it's way too much work. It's going to be stress, bigger, more money, more problems. And it's just going to be like, they're just going to stack up all the reasons why they can't, which sets up the vibration of fear and prevents the action. Me, I don't allow any of those thoughts because I know they're all fake. I go, I can do this. There are no limits. I can do anything. I'm a multimillionaire. 10 million is nothing. And I'll figure it out along the way. And I put an offer on the 10 million. The only difference between myself and anyone else who has not done anything in the mindset space, I would say actually further to that. The only difference between someone who is successful and someone who is not is the way that they think. It's the only difference. It's not the actions they take, because you can only take the actions if you think the right way and you have a vibration of confidence and gratitude and love, and you can go do the thing. But if you have thoughts of lack, scarcity, doubt, and fear, it prevents the action. And if that's where you live every day, thinking about the past, thinking about your failures, thinking you're not good enough, you never take action because you're crippled by fear.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Just wanted to say it again, right? 95% mindset, guys. 5% knowledge. That's so powerful, right? Because there are so many people, gurus out there teaching you how to acquire real estate, right? And Matt just mentioned something that I wanted to highlight again, right? In real estate, there's so many businesses. You could, own a fix and flip business. You can do a wholesale business. You could do a lending business. Matt mentioned freedom, right? Hey, you acquire assets that appreciate, that give you cash flow and give you freedom. Guys, that is freedom, right? Yes, these are other great businesses in real estate, but those don't really give you the freedom. It's the business that you're in and out. So, Matt, that's so powerful. Thanks for sharing that, man. It's and the other thing I wanted to highlight was, depending on where you're at in your journey, whether you're new, right, or whether you're in real estate for 5-10 years, if you're checking this out, you do need help. It's a team effort, right? And mindset is one of the things that people don't see it, right? They'll onboard underwriters, they'll onboard acquisition things, right? Acquisition players or dispo team members, right? But anybody in the leadership or that wants to lead people or just wants to be you need that mentor and mindset. So I think, you feel that you're reading and that's helping you, but at the end, that's not it. You need that other person to help you through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another quote that lives in my head. Success is 95% mindset. That's, tattooed on my brain. But here's another one I'll give for your audience is success is not doing certain things. Success is doing things a certain way. And that is a quote that has been ingrained in my mind since my mentor taught it to me. because it's the truth. Most people get stuck in doing certain things that they think will bring them success. Most people go, okay, well, people can make money in wholesaling, so I'm just going to try that. And then I'll just make one assignment a month and I'll make 15 grand a month and I'll be super. 6 months to a year later, they've never, they haven't done a deal yet. They're frustrated. They've spent money on marketing. They don't know what they're doing, and it doesn't work. Now they try something else. They give up on wholesaling. They try something else. So doing certain things is not the key to success. It's doing things a certain way. That certain way is following someone who already has done it, who can show you how to do it that certain way. So that's why a coach and a mentor is so incredibly important. I like to give the analogy. What's the difference, Edgar, between someone who runs around their high school racetrack every day, just sprints around the track? What's the difference between that person and the guy who wins a gold medal? Well, the gold medalist in the Olympics has a coach, and they learn not just to run. That's just doing certain things. They learn how to do things a certain way. So they learn how to diet properly. They learn how to sleep properly. They learn how to jump off the blocks properly. They learn different movements with their stride. They learn different movements with their ankles. They learn how to swing their arms differently. They learn how to breathe differently, right? They learn how to visualize the win before they get on the blocks. You see how, like, I just listed, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 things, and I'm not even a sprinter, but that's how Olympians are trained by their coach to win Olympic gold medals. And that's, now, if you look at them from the outside, it's just 2 people doing the exact same thing. They're both running around a track.
Yeah.
That's the difference of success. Someone who will run around a track in real estate and never do a deal their entire life, but they're all just doing real estate and they'll never have financial freedom. And then people who hire a mentor and coach to show them how to do it a certain way, and they attain financial freedom within 2 years.
That's such a great analogy right there, Matt.
It's the truth.
That is so good. Hey, hopefully everybody's taking notes, y'all. Y'all need us to keep notes, guys. It's so important, Matt, I really appreciate your time, man. Being able to hop on this podcast and share about your journey and share about how you've been able to raise capital. And not that, I don't want us not talk about underwriting or types of deals you've been getting into in recently, right, with these huge multi-million-dollar deals. But maybe if you have a couple more minutes, could we go into one of the deals that you recently raised? How was that structured?
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, man. So what was that latest acquisition you did? Was it the RV park here in Georgia, or was there another one?
Yeah, mobile home park in Georgia, 32 units in Montezuma, about 2 hours south of Atlanta. Amazing little park, 100% occupied with a waiting list. It's nestled in between peach farms and tomato farms, and it's about a half an hour from Fort Valley, which has a hospital, a university, and an Air Force base. So that's just in a really, really great location for an investor. Most people would look at that and go, it's rural. That's 2 hours outside of Atlanta in the middle of nowhere. Nobody wants to live there. It's all about, the stigma, location, right? To me, this is the perfect location because it is a half an hour drive to where all the people work, the hospital, the university, the Air Force base. There's a ton of employment there, not to mention all the labor jobs at all the farms, right, that sell produce. It's a half an hour drive. In Fort Valley, rents are double. So knowing that, we have a waiting list of about 20 people for our mobile home park. It's always full.
Wow.
Yeah. So amazing little park. Have to do your due diligence. Can't stress that enough. But that's market data, market analysis once you're under contract. Because even myself, let's just looking at the numbers. I'm like, okay, it makes money, but I don't really know about the market. I'm not going to spend 20 hours digging into this thing unless I have it under contract. So that's another tip for anyone who's starting out in real estate. I think a lot of people, they get 100 steps ahead of where they should be. They're like, okay, I really like this asset. They don't have it under contract. They haven't even underwritten it. And they're already looking at who's my property manager going to be? I'm like, you shouldn't be Googling property managers because you don't even have it under contract yet. And they worry about that. And then it prevents them. They're like, well, I don't have boots on the ground and I don't have a team and I don't have a contractor and I don't have a property manager. And how the heck I'm not it. I'm in Canada, bro. I haven't even been to this park in Georgia. I haven't even seen it. And I've owned it for like 9 months. But that's the difference. Like when you get, obviously you can't do that when you're brand new. It's extremely terrifying. But as a seasoned operator, you can buy assets without seeing them. But this is a great deal for a lot of reasons, and I can break down the numbers for you and your audience. It's $1.6 million deal. Originally, it was going to be a sub-2 deal with about $1 million that was going to be taken over, until the seller told his bank that he was selling it on a sub-2. So that didn't work. It was more like, I don't know what you would call it, because it wasn't legally a sub-2. It was just, we were going to take over the payments and pay them on his behalf, sort of thing, until 2 years when he wanted to 1031 out. So what we ended up doing was we structured a contract for deed, and basically we're doing a triple net lease for 2 years, and then he's going to be fully out. So we have full operational control of the park. Again, here's another key point. Before doing this deal, Edgar, I had never done a park this big. I had never done a deal this big. I had never raised capital this much. I did own a 6-plex in Georgia, so I was in that state, but I'd never done a 32 unit before. I had never done a contract for deed before, right? I'd never done a triple net lease before. Our operating agreement was 68 pages.
Wow.
It was insane. We had 4 attorneys, and that's a whole other story. So anyway, just a monster of a deal in a lot of different ways. There was a lot of twists and turns. I put this thing under contract because of my mindset. I put this thing under contract because I had belief I could do it. I had no money to buy the deal. I had no partners that wanted to partner, but I put it under contract with belief that it would come. I didn't even have the END. I just borrowed that too. And everything else just came. So eventually, from being in the owners club, I was offered to do deal maker. So I was invited to Arizona, where I pitched and presented. I was the first ever to do deal maker, the first one to present, and Pace and Matt Sorensen both invested in my deal. Lucky for me, because I had done underwriting for so many years prior, I had my numbers nailed down, but the deal was really good. And actually, I was way too conservative on my pitch deck. The deal was actually better than what the numbers I presented. Wow. And I knew that, and they did too. Anyway, it served me to my benefit because they both invested with me. But long story short, I had to do a $750,000 raise on this thing, and we were able to do that. So we make payments on the triple net lease. We make payments on the mortgage, right, for the owner. And then in 18 months from now, or less than that, we are going to refinance him out, and he's going to 1031 his money, and we will fully have the deed and everything. We'll own the whole property. So,
God, that is so amazing, man. Yeah, I remember when you pitched that at the Deal Maker. That was pretty awesome. And I was trying to remember how you structure the 750, the capital that you raised. And you know, this is like, guys, you know, I know we typically talk about single family homes, so you know, stay with us because this is amazing, right? Like the power of what you can accomplish. So how did you structure that 750 in this deal?
Great question. So I had never done a waterfall before. I didn't even know what a waterfall was. So again, this is what the successful do. When I look at my mentors, they're doing things they've never done before, and they're just doing it and figuring it out along the way. You're learning as you do the thing. You don't learn and then do the thing. You learn while you're doing it. So here I am. I'm like, well, like I've never done any of this stuff, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I don't know what a waterfall is. So I'm just doing research online. I'm Googling, I'm YouTubing videos. I'm watching what a waterfall is. I had never done a preferred return before. So I'm looking up what that means. I'm talking to SEC attorneys, talking about like, do I need a PP, private placement memorandum? Do I need, you know, to structure everything? Like, do I need a GPLP? Like, what do I need to do to be in compliance with the SEC, right? And so we find out that as long as all of our partners are active partners, we can have up to 6 partners in our operating agreement without a PPM. So I can have up to 6 partners as long as they're all active without a PPM. Perfect. So we do quarterly meetings. Everyone has a task. Everyone has kind of a job. And I could, bring partners on, private money partners who will fund the deal, and I'll do all the work and I'll operate the asset, and everybody kind of gets a job. So we take votes on, are we going to drop new homes? Or are we going to do container homes or tiny homes? And we vote on some things with the operation side. But when it came to structuring the returns for the partners, I'm asking them for $750,000 to partner with me. So they're going to own a piece of the property. They're going to be on the operating agreement, owning this asset with me. They're not lenders. The way I structure the returns is we start with what's called a preferred return. For short form, we call it a pref. The pref is essentially, you want to give your investors, now partners, a good enough return that it's like, I'm going to match the S&P 500 essentially, so that they know that no matter what, I'm going to guarantee the pref. So they know they're going to do better and outperform the S&P 500. So they should invest with me and not just in the stock market. Does that make sense?
Wow. So that's like a 7%, maybe 8% return.
6. Yeah.
6. Wow.
6% is guaranteed, right? So you're guaranteed a 6%. Now, after the 6% pref is given to all the partners, now we do what's called a profit sharing waterfall. And now this is why I love PACE. Creative financing means everything is creative. Everything. So the pref is creative. I could have given a 2% pref. I could have given a 10% pref. It's whatever I choose. It's whatever attracts the right partners. So when it comes to the waterfall, I can do 80% of the profit sharing of what's left after the pref. I can give 80% to my partners and I keep 20. I can do a 70-30. I can do a 90-10. It's really up to me to structure whatever I want, keeping in mind you have to model it out. How long is it going to take? So if I do a 70-30 split, how long is it going to take my partners getting 70% of the profit share to double their money? Is it 5 years? Is it 8 years? Is it 15 years? So that number is going to be highly predicated on the return and the equity multiple that I'm going to want to give my partners, because there's a very easy standard in partnership space. Most people want to double their money in under 7 years. So if I can double my partner's money in 5, that's an attractive, very attractive investment. So for anyone out there that not too deep into underwriting, if you're going to double your investment in 5 years, that's 100% return. Divide that by 5, that's a 20% a year return, right? So a 2x equity multiple in 5 years is a 20% return annually. That's a really good investment, which means after my 6% pref that I pay my partners, the 85-15 waterfall that I implemented on this deal, that 85% equity split gives them the other 14% per year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I make very little annually, but here's the power in this, Edgar. I'm not buying assets to get rich quick. I'm not buying assets to get out of debt. I'm buying assets for wealth. So on this deal, I'm going to manage, operate, control this entire deal for the next 5 years. When I refinance in 5 years, my partners have doubled their money. Now the waterfall reverses. So now I paid myself to buy a $1.6 million asset. I used none of my own money. Okay. Paid myself. I make thousands of dollars a year in cash flow. Not a lot, probably like $9,000 a year. Not a big deal. But in 5 years, when that waterfall reverses, I get 80% of about $160,000 a year for the rest of my life.
Wow.
For as long as I own the asset. Now,
guys,
what if you own 10 of those? That's my play. I'm going after aggressively. I need 10 deals that in 5 years, when the waterfalls flip, I make $1 million a year the rest of my life in my sleep. Everything after
Let's
that's great.
go.
Let's go.
Oh man, that is
Yeah.
powerful, man. Dude, man, I love the way you broke down, your structure, man. Guys, watch this episode again. I know it's high level structure, but that's how you achieve, guys, get into these big deals. But Matt, where can people connect with you, man, if they want to get into the mindset journey or if they want to invest with you? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
I love that. Yeah. Instagram, bro. I mean, everybody's on Instagram. That's the best place to reach me at MattP_REI. That's my handle. Everything is on there. All the programs. We have programs all the way from $149 a month all the way up to $100,000 a year mentorship. So everything in between, whether you're brand new and you just want to dip your toe in the pool, we've got a program for you. We've got programs for couples. My wife just rolled out a program specifically for women to be I think it's called Unshakable, and it's for women to be completely resilient and step into their own power. It's really a crazy good program. So we've got lots of programs, ways to really build you up and help you on your journey. But what's really exciting, Edgar, is in a month and a little bit, we are having our first 2-day retreat in Arizona at the Phoenician Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. And if you go on my Instagram, it's the only link. You can click on the link and you can get tickets, $179 for general admission.
When is that again?
$179 to change your life. Come down to Arizona. Come hang out with us. Jamil Damji, the owner of Keegley, the wholesale king. Guy does 70 wholesale deals a month. 70 a month. Massive. Jamil Damji is going to be on stage. And Duran Levy, new development master. He is going to be on stage as well. So we have a huge 2-day event planned, and we'd love to see you guys out there. Anybody watching this, come on out and learn how you can change your life and your financial future.
Awesome. Well, definitely, we'll put that in the comments here, guys, and we'll make a post on Instagram. Definitely, guys, if you're in Arizona, or even if you're not, you want to fly in, check out this amazing event that they're going to be hosting. Matt, if you wanted to drop one last wisdom, for everybody listening, give us one last thing, my friend, before we take it off for the day. What would that be, my friend?
Ooh, there's so many to choose from. I'll tell you, I'll give you another quote because I love quotes. My mentor, he was really instrumental in my life, and that's why I continue to seek more and more guidance and more mentorships from people ahead of me. And something I learned not from my first mentor, but from someone I met along the way was, you can achieve anything in this life when you become the person that can have it. That statement, you should really think about that and sit with that for a while, because focus on the word become. Because if there's something in your life that you want to attain and you haven't, it's not because you haven't worked hard enough. It's not because you haven't learned how to do it. It's because you have not yet become the person who can achieve it. That to its core is one of the truest things I've ever learned. And if you haven't learned that, that will change your life right there. Yeah.
Man, such a good one, man. Thanks. Definitely, y'all, you need to replay this one like 2 or 3 times. But definitely make it a plan to attend Matt's event in Arizona. And you said in 2 weeks. When's that date again?
October 9th and 10th.
October 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, y'all. Hey, hopefully y'all took value from this. For now, catch you on the next one. Peace out, y'all.